princesses, welcome back to the Unscripted Mosaic, because adulting is hard and we're just gonna vibe through it together. Let's be real, how much is too much to share about your marriage? And more importantly, who really needs to know anyways? Today, we're diving into the art of healthy boundaries in relationships, because not everything is meant for everyone to hear. And no, this is not about calling out anyone. This is just hypothetically speaking, of course. So, if you guys aren't aware, we do have a very special guest today. Today, we will be joined by my lovely husband, Michael Elliott. Ah, the crowd goes wild. Okay, welcome, Michael. How are you today, this
Pretty
evening?
good. How about you?
I am great. I'm excited to get into these juicy questions.
Oh, I'm very excited.
So, first up, we're gonna talk to you guys about 4 different sections about our relationship and our marriage. We will also, I know I'll be talking about, the past and other relationships. Michael here is so lucky that I'm his one true and only love, so he won't have any stories to share with you guys. But don't worry, I have enough for the both of us.
Yes, and I'll just sit here and laugh and giggle along with her.
Literally, or he'll be like, what the f***? This is who I married? So first we're going to define what healthy boundaries means in a marriage. If you guys want, you can take this opportunity now to go ahead and leave us a comment to let us know what you think healthy boundaries are. We're going to get into a little bit of... There's hair everywhere. We're going to get into a little bit, it's just because of this fur. We're going to get into a little bit of oversharing and what that looks like in a marriage, as well as oversharing when it comes to family and in-laws, because that's a tricky topic to talk about.
It really is a tricky.
So we'll start with you, I guess. What does healthy boundaries look like for you in a marriage?
Well, what it looks like to me first is y'all discuss what kind of boundaries y'all want in a relationship, and just really trying to dive deep within each other and learn what makes them more comfortable and what makes them feel more loved.
Yes, I can agree with that. Definitely for me, with healthy boundaries, it's more of whatever we have going on in our marriage is not meant for everyone else to hear. We're not obligated to share any part of our marriage with anyone. We don't have to tell y'all if we don't want to. That's healthy boundaries, is making sure that the important things in your marriage remain between just the two of you guys.
Yes, you are totally right.
But I feel like in-laws or family, they can think like, oh, they're so secretive with their relationship because we don't know everything about them.
But to put it forward, it's none of your beeswax.
Literally, it's not about keeping secrets. It's about protecting your connection from outside noise. Because what I've seen in a lot of my past relationships, like one in particular, whenever me and him would argue, I would literally call or text my mom. And now my mom has all these different opinions about our relationship and what we need to do, whereas if I would have just kept that between us, we could have just worked it out together without other opinions, And another thing with that is, once you tell the world that you're mad or that you and your partner are having issues, you may forgive them, but your family probably is not going to forgive them. Whenever we talk about relationships to other people, I don't think we tell them the good things. We're just so caught up in the moment of being upset that we're like, oh yeah, my partner did this and this and this and this and this, and like you're literally listing all the terrible traits about your partner, but you didn't highlight any good things. So whereas you know the good things that are happening in your relationship, but you only took the time to highlight the bad things, so your family is going to be like, well, I don't like this person because the last time you talked to me, you told me all these negative things about this person, and now you want me to be around them and act like everything is all rainbows and sunshine? No, that's not how it works.
Okay, here are 4 key factors of a healthy boundary. Benefits of privacy, reduce external judgment, encourage problem solving as a couple, and build trust between partners.
those boundaries within your relationship, your marriage, whatever, you get to keep a lot of things private and you don't have to tell anyone. You're not obligated to. You don't have to do that. And also, like we were talking about with exes, you're reducing some of that judgment, because if you don't tell your family, the whole world, that this man is a deadbeat, then no one has to know that. And so, just sometimes it's okay to just suffer in silence. Sometimes you don't have to let the people know how terrible your relationship is. Now, if they're like abusing you, speak up. Like,
Please.
Seriously, speak up. But if it's just like, oh, every now and then my spouse, my partner makes me upset, I'm gonna go tell my friends all about it. Don't do that, because your friends are gonna hate him forever. They're never gonna respect him because of all the things that you said about them. So just do yourself a favor and keep those things to yourself. All right, moving along, we are gonna talk about the oversharing trap. Oversharing. You have to be careful when you're talking to people about your relationship, because for one, I found that not everyone is excited about your relationship. You might be excited about it, but there are people out there that are like literally hating because they don't have that kind of love and they don't have that kind of support that you guys may be showing, or those are just the vibes that y'all have when y'all are out and about. You seem like really lovey-dovey and like in love, and someone else might see that as, well, I don't have that, so I don't like them, and that can just be that. I'm going to give you a couple of tips to address the meaning behind nosy family and friends, because let's face it, some of our family and friends are very nosy and they want to know everything, and you again are not obligated to tell them. You can just be like, we're working through it together, but thanks for checking in. Just cute, simple, very demure, very mindful. We're working on this together. We didn't need your help. This is an A-B conversation. See your way out of it.
I was just about to say that.
That's literally what I thought of whenever I heard it. Okay, also, importance of united communication. So boundaries work best when you and your partner are on the same page. So if I say, hey, I don't think we should tell someone about, let me think of a good example. Okay, for instance, like with, okay, we'll talk about this, even though I don't really want to talk about children and like having kids, because like I said, like I don't like to overshare that part of my life. I like to keep that private and like between us. But just for an example, if I say, hey babe, I don't want to talk to anyone about our pregnancy journey and all of that, and he goes around and he starts telling his family, his friends, that is like a no-no. Like, you and your partner have to agree on the same things, and even if you don't agree, compromise, work it out, talk it out, because the last thing you want is to feel disrespected within those boundaries. Like, yeah, I was not comfortable sharing this, but my husband or my wife decided to just tell the whole world, because now you guys have like broken that trust in relationship, because that disconnect. You wanted to keep something secret, they decided to tell the whole world about it. Screw those people. No, I'm just kidding.
It's hard to come back from that trust too being broken.
Yes, it is. We can talk about that, because once you lose trust in a relationship, in a marriage, I feel like you're gonna spend a lot more time trying to earn that trust back, versus if you would have just been straight and open and said, hey, I know you said you didn't want me to tell anyone, but is it okay if I tell this person or this person? And then you guys both got to have the conversation and you got to both have input, versus one person making all the decisions, and then the other person just has to kind of deal with it, because that's never something fun to go through. It's like having like your partner can't be trusted. No, definitely not. Okay, and I just want to go ahead and like kind of reassure you guys that setting boundaries doesn't mean that you're cutting people out of your life. Like, just because you're setting boundaries for yourself, that doesn't mean that, hey, I can't talk to you anymore because of this. it's really just about creating space for your relationship to thrive. Because you care and value your relationship, you're going to keep a lot of things, just between you and your spouse. Because, I mean, let's face it, like I said, there are so many people out there that are really not, they may say they're rooting for you, but behind closed doors, they're hoping that you crash and burn. They're literally waiting for it to fail so they can have their moment. Like, I knew this wasn't gonna work. Because how many of us has had someone in our family do that when a relationship ends? They're like, oh, I knew you guys weren't gonna work out. Like, oh, I knew y'all weren't gonna be together that long. Why would you say that? That is so rude.
Instead of encouraging them.
Exactly. Like, even if I had someone come to me with relationship problems, first I tell them, like, make sure that you deal with it with them. But I would also tell them to take the time and give each other space. Like, if you feel like y'all are just like at each other's throats, like, take some time away from each other to cool down. Because the last thing you want to do is be upset about something. Go talk to your partner while you're upset, because it's a recipe for disaster. We know. Trust me. It is not fun. Whenever you're already upset about something, you've been thinking about it for so long, you're like, oh my gosh, they didn't wash the dishes, then something else happened, and now instead of thinking through all these different scenarios to be able to calm and ease your mind, instead you're like taking all the things that has happened bad, and then you go and confront them, and then it turns into, hey, I was upset that you disrespected our boundaries and you told all these people this stuff. It's gonna turn from that to, and then you didn't do the laundry, you forgot to do the dishes, you leave your clothes all over the place. It's just like, relax.
If you need to go to separate rooms, leave the house, like, just cool down.
Yes, there are so many things you can do before you just start going to your partner and like having a yelling match. Which is why it's so important to make sure that you're not only setting healthy boundaries for your marriage together, but healthy boundaries for yourself as well. You need to know, hey, I don't want to talk, like, whenever I'm upset, I prefer to just get out of there quick. And it's no, hey, it's not like I don't care about you, I don't want to talk to you. It's just because I know myself, I'm going to go ahead and exit the room so that way we can have a calm, level-headed, mature conversation. It's not only just setting boundaries for your marriage, but set boundaries for yourself. There are some things that you're gonna have to keep to yourself in a marriage, and not like, oh yeah, I spent $1,000, I'm not gonna tell because these are my healthy boundaries. No, girl, that's not what I mean. I mean, you feel like you don't have to document your whole day for your spouse. You don't have to do that. You guys can take this and apply it to your own life, so that way, it fits for you. Because what I'm saying, you're probably like, what? So take what I'm saying, healthy boundaries, spouse, yourself, apply it to your life. You know what your boundaries look like. You know what you will allow and what you won't allow. So, take what you need from this conversation and use it for yourself. Okay, so we're down to our last segment, I guess, before we get into some questions.
Oh.
I don't think he's here to talk, guys. I think he's here just for facial expressions and like a little bit of sounds, because I feel like I haven't heard you talk this whole time.
I have been talking.
He said he's a little nervous, but he literally streams, so I don't know why he's nervous. We're not live right now. It's literally just us in our house, and so I don't know why this guy's nervous, but he's literally said a little bit of words, which is fine. So segment 4, keeping it balanced. When is it okay to share? Let's say we were in the market for a new car. I'm not gonna tell my family and my friends, I'm not even gonna post about it, because I just don't trust people, okay? I feel like everyone is out to get me, but I feel like a good majority, like, I just feel like there's so many people who just don't want me to be successful. They don't want my marriage to work. They don't want me to have a good life. So I just keep things to myself. And I don't know, you guys may feel that way too. Like, this is not about anyone in particular. It's just like this energy that I feel like sometimes when we're going through things in our life, I'm like, I'm not sharing that. Like, when we moved here, like, I didn't tell the whole world, like, oh, we're moving. We kind of did it in silent, and then when we got done, then we're like,
we told everybody.
Yes, exactly. We're like, new house, who this? So it's like, it's okay to not share everything.
You could share after the fact.
Exactly.
Just because, I have the same feeling as you. Can't really trust everyone because, they preying on my downfall.
Exactly. That's like really sad because for me, most of it comes from like family. I feel like a lot of people in my family, I'm like, do they hate me? And that's just how I feel, it's like nothing personal for no reason. It's just a feeling I get with certain people. I'm like,
do you not like me?
Exactly. Like that's what it feels like, like it feels like there's like some kind of animosity around, like whenever we're like face to face, or even whenever I post, I'm like, oh, that's not.
and that what kind of sucks is you think, oh, my biggest haters are just random people everywhere, but sometimes it's just your friends and family, and that's a hard fact to take in.
Yes, it is hard whenever you're expecting the people, and I talked about this in, I want to say, my first podcast episode, where I talked about sometimes you're wanting your family and friends to root for you the hardest, but they're really not. They may pretend like they are, but deep down they're like, man, I hope they don't make it. And that's okay. I still believe that like what God has for you is for you. No one can take that away. No one can get in the way of the blessings that God has for you in your life. But I do believe that it can be delayed when people are praying heavily for you to fail, But at the end of the day, I say God is in control. Still be careful what you share with people, but God is in control. He's going to take care of you no matter what, no matter if the whole world is against you, God is for you. So with that being said, what works for us may not work for you. You guys may want to tell your in-laws and your family and friends literally every single thing.
And they may support you 100%.
They will, they might. But, I just feel like we'll get into it because the verse of this week actually aligns so perfectly with what we're talking about. I just feel like when you get married, we're not joining each other's family. And at the beginning, I used to, think like, oh my gosh, like we're gonna have, both of our families are gonna just mix together, but that's not true. Whenever you get married, you're literally leaving your families and coming together to create your own family. So for me, it no longer matters what my family has to say, because I'm worried about the family that we're creating and that we're gonna start, and not the family that we came from.
Yes, it really just matters what you and me think about.
Yeah. So with that, the verse that I want to tell y'all, so it's from Genesis 2:24, and it says, a man and a woman should leave their parents and become one flesh. One. Not a flesh with all my family and my friends. No, just you two. Literally says a man and a woman should leave their parents and become one flesh. Genesis 2:24. Don't forget to write that down. I'll tell you why later, but make sure you take a mental note of that. Write it down somewhere, because I'm not sure if I'm going to put it in the comments or the caption this time. It might be one of those surprise things where you have to watch the video all the way through to see what the verse of the week is. So, some key points. Protect your marriage. Protect your marriage always. Communicate as a team. And don't be afraid to set limits with love. So the next time someone asks a little too much about your relationship, just remember, who really needs to know? So that's all we're going to talk about as far as healthy boundaries and telling your family things that you really don't have to share with them. And now we're going to get into some questions. A little bit of, it's the love weekend. It's about to be Valentine's Day. Well, if you're watching this, Valentine's Day has passed, but for us, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. So we're gonna talk about some things, some gifts maybe, y'all don't need it now because Valentine's Day is over. But in case you need to make up to your wife or your husband, what are some things that men want for Valentine's Day? Do men like flowers?
Not really. I think what we really like most is like a steak, or
These are not gifts.
it could be a gift.
A steak dinner, guys. You heard it here. My husband is really simple. He's not, you know,
overcomplicated.
Exactly. He's just him. I mean, his ideal gift for Valentine's Day is a steak. I will take note of that because I have a day to prepare and it can happen. I think for me, you know, one thing that I don't know, flowers and me are just kind of like, I don't like flowers. I like to get them every now and then. Like, the gesture is nice, but I also am like, don't buy me flowers because you're just gonna die. So why waste money on that? But I know a lot of women out there, like, he has to buy me flowers every week. And I used to be like, oh my gosh, like, all these girls are like requesting flowers, so I have to request flowers, because if not, then my husband doesn't love me. But that's not true. Like I said, like, what works for you may not work for everyone. So like all the girls who are like flowers, and I'm like, no. You can give me a fake like roses from the Dollar Tree and I wouldn't care. Real flowers, I just think they're a waste of money. They're gonna die anyway. And funny story, the last time you guys saw my episode, you might have seen the vase of flowers here. My husband surprised me with those one day, and you know, they were beautiful. I loved them, and when I saw the price on them, I got so mad. I was like, you spent $60 on some flowers, you're gonna die. Like, you know what I could have done with that money? Like,
makeup, you know, cleaning supplies.
Exactly.
You know, facials.
Exactly.
Get your nails done, you know.
That part. Just give me the money, and I don't want those flowers. So, you know, it's taken a lot because I'm like, man, are people gonna think that, you know, I'm like, are people gonna think that I never get flowers? But it's not that I don't get them, it's just that I don't want them.
She wants other things.
Exactly. Other things that are not just gonna die. Flowers are gonna die. But I'm not really a flower girl. I prefer quality time. Yes, jewelry, but quality time is like really up there for me. Like for Valentine's Day, I prefer staying in. I really like, I guess I've gotten old. So I don't like to go outside that much. Like for date nights, I'm like, I'd rather just stay in and watch a movie. And so for Valentine's Day, this one has to work. But I'm like, I would be fine with ordering in and watching a movie, and that's it, you know.
Or play some board games too.
Yeah, and even the other day when we played board games, that was just like, I'm bored, I don't want to do this. You know, it's just like, I think we've been together for
almost 4 years, about 3.5.
Yes, almost 4 years. And so I feel like for me, anyway, I get bored easily and I get tired of the same old things. And so I'm like, every single year, Valentine's Day is here, you know? Which is funny because I remember when I first met him, I had never had a real Valentine's Day. Like, my exes were trash. They did not celebrate Valentine's Day. They never appreciated me, any of that. So then I got this lovely man to propose to me on Valentine's Day. And after that, I was like, nothing else can top this day, so I think I'll just stay in forever.
Or I could re-propose in different, you know, ways that could be better and better.
Do we have a surprise proposal coming tomorrow? No, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, you know, it's just like, I think I've just done it all for so long that I'm like, whatever, you know, let's just stay in and enjoy that. Also, I was going to talk about something else, but I think I've forgotten, or I've just talked so much that I've kind of lost track of what I was going to say. But, oh, we got questions, y'all. We got these questions because they're kind of popular right now. A lot of, you know, people have a lot to say on this topic. And the question is, what are your thoughts on 50-50? Do you know, first of all, do you know what 50-50 is?
Yes, I know what 50-50 is.
For those of you who don't know, 50-50 is basically when you're in a relationship and you're expecting the man and the woman to go half on everything. So basically like a roommate. You didn't hear it here, but that's what it is. It's a roommate.
It is.
But what are your thoughts on 50-50?
I feel like I don't go by 50-50.
We got a real man here, y'all.
So, as you can tell, I work all the time, and you know, it's a big bummer I don't get to spend as much time with my loved one.
But it's so worth it, y'all.
Oh, it is. But let's say, oh, she's not feeling good today, and you know, I see the laundry in a mess. I'll take care of it. You know, step up. Like, I won't just walk by and be like, oh, it's her job. No, it's also my job too.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of what I see is like, whenever you have a husband or a partner who works and you're like the stay-at-home person, and at first I was like a little bit embarrassed to be like a stay-at-home wife, because I'm like, if you guys have watched my last one, I talked about this too, but like, I didn't come from a family of stay-at-home people or any of that, so it's just kind of hard for me to you know, kind of live that life, because I'm very much independent. But also, you know, you see 50-50 and you see the woman staying at home, and then you assume like, oh, the woman has to do all the work and the husband just gets to come home, eat dinner, drink a cold beer, and the wife is just doing everything. No, not here. We are a little bit different. We don't have like roles. We're kind of like he said, if he comes home and I haven't been feeling well today, I just don't want to do anything, the laundry's not done, the dishes aren't done, he's going to help out and he's going to do his part. Same thing with him. If he comes home and I see that he's like super tired and he's super worn out, okay, hey, I'm going to do this for you because I know that you had a long day at work, I know that you're tired, so let me pick up my part. Sometimes it's not always about 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes I'm doing 80% of the work and he's doing 20. Sometimes he's doing 80% of the work and I'm doing 20. Heck, sometimes it could even be 100%, 0%, and vice versa.
It's just knowing the environment on how the person's feeling that day or what they've gone through.
Exactly. Being mindful of your partner's feelings and what's going on. You know, just because you're a man, and even though, yes, you may work all the time and you feel like you shouldn't have to help out around the house because your wife stays home all day, I just don't think that that's the right mindset to have. Now, I will say, because we don't have kids, I will say that I do a lot more than him because we don't have kids. So there are going to be more things that I do because I have more time on my hands. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, I applaud you and I respect you, because I can barely manage being a stay-at-home wife with all the time in the world. So imagine having little people running around and you have a lot more to do. You have to do laundry. You got to make sure that your kids are fed. Like, I can't even eat more than once a day. So imagine if you are a stay-at-home mom, your husband should be absolutely stepping up. Like, there's no excuse for him to be coming home and not doing anything. Like, I'm getting upset for the moms who have to go through that, because that is baloney. There is no way that you are taking care of little people running around your home, cleaning up, making sure that your kids are taken care of, being a chef, being a nanny, being a mom, being a wife, and then your husband gets to come home and sit on the couch?
Drink a beer?
Hello, newsflash buddy, you helped create those kids in that family. And I think it's important that you, before you even get married, before you even have kids, some people I know are not fortunate enough to do that, but if you are, I would consider sitting down with your partner and talking about these things, because I know one of the things that we talked about before we got married was, okay, what do you expect? Like, what's okay in our relationship? You know, like, what are the responsibilities that you think I should be taking care of, and what are the responsibilities that I think you should be taking care of? As long as you sit down with your partner and you guys are communicating that, then that's fine. Now, I'm not saying that if you are a stay-at-home mom and you love to do those things, that you shouldn't do those things, because there are some super moms out there who want to do that life. You know, they want to take care of their kids, they want to do all the things and have their husband come home and do nothing. That's amazing.
Applause.
Claps for y'all, because I would never. Even when I have kids, you know, like, even though I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, I'm gonna not I am gonna expect him to do so, but I'm not gonna expect him to, because we have kids now, that he needs to do a lot more. Like, he's gonna do the same thing that he did whenever I was here by myself, except for now we'll have little people, and that's something that we'll have to sit down and also talk about. You know, what's our life gonna look like with little people running around? You know, like, what are some changes that are gonna have to be made in order to make this work, so that we don't have to do that whole 50-50 bullcrap? Because if you're asking me, I just don't believe in it. I feel like if you want to do 50-50, go get a roommate, or don't date them, because I just think that men and women, they both bring something to the table. They both have things to offer.
You're right.
So if you guys are both bringing stuff to the table, there shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't have to be like, oh, well, I did this, so you have to do this, or because I make more money than you, I don't have to clean up. That's a very bad mindset to have in a marriage. But we're gonna just end it there because I could talk about 50-50 all day long, okay? And then brings us to our next question, household chores. We don't really
set chores for each other.
Yeah, so it's not like, oh, like I've definitely tried to do like, okay, you on these days you're gonna do this, this, and this, and on these days I'll do this, this, and this. We try to do that, but it's so unrealistic.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work because for one, I'm not looking at that calendar that I wrote every single day.
No.
Sometimes when I look at it, the day is over and it might say I have to do laundry today, and it's like 7 o'clock and I'm just not looking at the calendar and the whole day has gone by and I haven't done a single piece of laundry because I didn't look at that board. So we just decided what works best for us is basically just, if you see it, clean it.
Yep.
Like, if you're there in the area, you have nothing to do, get it done. If not, oh well, the world is gonna keep on spinning. As long as we can walk around in our house, that's all we care about.
Yeah.
It's not really, I don't think it's right to assign household chores to each other because
No, it's not.
we're both adults, we're both grown, we both know what needs to be cleaned. We both know what needs to be cleaned, we both know what needs to be done. So we're not children, we don't have to write down a chore list for each other. Just grow up,
And
be
do it.
adults, and get it done. Exactly. Okay. In-laws. Do you think you have to keep them updated? And I will just say this, Michael is so lucky, he doesn't have a single in-law. Like, you don't have to worry about my parents at all. So he like lucked out. He doesn't have to worry about that. So I guess the question's for me.
So what's your answer?
Honestly, so like early in our marriage, I know it's just really weird for me because we'll get into this later, but obviously like we're two different colors. So our families like operate differently. So for me, it was like super weird, to like consider his family as my family because it's like no matter, even if we were both white, I just feel like no matter how hard you like try to push for like being close with your in-laws, I just feel like you'll never really be a part of their family. Like I've had times where I felt like they only like me because I'm married to you, if I weren't with you, they wouldn't like me. That's kind of how I feel. It's like, so when you like ask me like do they have to keep them updated, I feel like it's a no. Because like I said, like it's just like kind of me and his, like
Yes.
we're worried about building our family now, so like whatever our families have going on themselves, it's kind of like cool, congratulations. We don't really have to tell you guys our life story or what we're doing at this moment. We don't have to tell you, oh, right now we're in this stage of life, or oh, we're preparing for a baby, or oh, we're about to buy a car, oh, we're about to move to across the state. It's just like when it happens and when we feel like sharing it with you, we'll let you know. I remember early in our marriage when I kind of told Michael, like, how about we just keep our families like separated? Like whatever goes on with your family, that's you. Whatever goes on with my family, that's me to deal with. I don't have to come back to him and tell him, oh, did you know this is happening in my family? Like, of course, the drama and the tea is always nice to share. But as far as like giving real opinions and stuff, it's like I feel like I can give an opinion, but I encourage him not to really listen to it because it's his family and not my family. He knows his family better than me. So for me to feel like I can give any kind of advice for him or anything, it's kind of like you can give advice to an extent because you're married, but as far as like here's the advice, you need to listen to me, no, because again, that's his family. And even with my family, it's like if I have a crazy uncle or something in my family, and Michael might think like, this man is awful, you shouldn't talk to him, you shouldn't be around him. But if I've grown up with him and I know, oh, this is just how he acts, what he's saying is gonna feel like it's gonna feel kind of like he's being a little bit mean because he's like, oh yeah, you shouldn't talk to your uncle, you shouldn't do that, he's crazy. And I might get defensive because I'm like, excuse me, how are you gonna talk about my family? It just causes problems. So I just find it's better. I just found that it's better if you literally just like don't really give hard opinions on the matters because we don't know each other's family. Like I grew up with my family for 21 years. He grew up with his family 20 years. So he knows them more than I do. I know my family more than he does. So what might be weird in my family for him is normal for me. What might seem weird for his family, like to me, it might be normal for them. And also, it just comes with the fact that you have to understand. This is what I love about the fact that we're in an interracial relationship, is because we were both brought up so differently. So we bring different mindsets, cultures, opinions. Well, he ain't got no culture, y'all, he white. But anyways, you know, he brings some different perspectives to the table because we are different people. We were raised differently, we grew up differently. So, you know, there's just a lot of different perspectives you have to take in, especially whenever you're marrying outside of your race. Which, question number, whatever number this is, what's it like dating outside of your race?
Well, I would say it's kind of interesting.
Very.
Because, you know, I get to learn all these different kinds of ways, you know, your family, like all the different traditions they go through. And I'm sitting here like, wow, like I never thought this could be turning out to be this way because my family does it different.
Exactly. Insane, because it's like, you know, I come from a family who's like super close. Like in my family, you can cuss someone out, you can talk about them, but at the end of the day, we're gonna love each other and we're gonna be family regardless, like no matter what. And it might be unhealthy and it might be toxic, but guess what? That's my family and that's what I grew up with, and I'm gonna love them always and forever, no matter what. That's just the way that I grew up. Like, you can say something mean and be brutally honest in my family, but it's usually always out of love, you know? Sometimes it is out of negativity and evilness, but most of the time it's just really out of love. And so, you know, with his family, I'm like,
it's complete opposite.
Yes, I'm like,
you
wow.
say something hurtful and you won't talk to him for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yes, and it's like growing up, like whenever we would go to different towns to visit family, like we would literally make a tour. Like we're stopping at this person's house, this person's house, this person's house. Like even when we first met and we went back to my hometown, like we stopped at so many different houses. Like
6 or 7.
Literally, like we went to my grandparents' house, and then I'm like, okay, we have to go check on these people. Okay, we get done there, we gotta go here, we gotta go there. Like we went all over the town just visiting my family. And then here we are, like living in the town where like all of his family is at, and I wouldn't even say that we see them every 3 months. Like it's really strange, like living in the same town as like your family and not visiting. Like I mean, I have aunts and stuff. Like I have a couple family members here, but it's like, I don't know, I don't visit them as often as I should either. But it would just blew my mind, like, wow, your family, like almost all your family lives here, and it's like we don't really see them that often. But like if we were like to go back to my hometown, we're gonna see my family every single day. Like when we spend the weekends there, it's like we're going on a tour today, we're going on a tour tomorrow, we're gonna check in and see what everybody else is doing tomorrow, and you know, it is what it is. We're gonna see my whole family. And so it's been like, it's so interesting to see the different family dynamics, and even just like doing things certain ways. So like with washing dishes, like I grew up with hand washing dishes and putting bleach in there and doing all those things, and then he grew up with like
dishwasher isn't just
putting it in there, and I'm like, that is not clean. But I will say, y'all, I have made the switch to the dishwasher, but I'm really weird about it. I have to wash off the dishes first, and then I put them in the dishwasher, and sometimes I'll use my spray and put some like bleach in there and spray it, so that way it just gets extra clean. You know, you don't want to leave those germs. I mean, I know it's just me and you eating this off the utensils, but still, you just never know.
No.
Okay, that's all of our questions, but we do have kind of like a little cool round because it's Black History Month, and you know, it can be a little strange. Sometimes I feel so guilty in Black History Month, like I'm dating a white person. What would my ancestors say? But I love him and
I love you.
That's all that matters. And so I think it's funny because I have this Black History Month book, and I've been, you know, having Michael read some stuff out of there, so that way, like, I think the first day he read about Frederick Douglass, and so like I was cleaning up and I was like I gave him this book, and I was like, here, read this. You're gonna read a page every single day about, you know, a different African American person, so that way you know the history. Like, he may not be Black, but I'm going to give it my all to make sure that he knows about the Black culture and history, about, you know, what we had to go through growing up. I thought a card flew. What the heck? So, you know, so that way, because you like, he'll never fully understand what it's like to be a Black person, but I really want him to understand as much as he is capable of, because one day he's gonna have black children.
Yeah.
And I'd be darned if I let my kids grow up in a home where they don't know their history, or they grow up thinking that they're white, because they're not.
No.
I mean, they are a little bit, but you're black. Okay? So, you know, it's like, if you are dating someone outside of your race, even though they're not the same race as you, I feel that it is so very important to make sure that you are educating them on your culture and your history, because one day you guys might have kids, or even if you don't have kids, I think it's just really respectful for your spouse to know about your history and your culture, so that way they can kind of know more about you and where you come from, your origin, you know? Like I said, someone that's outside of your race is never going to fully understand and care the way you do about your ethnicity, about your culture, but they can try, and that's important. Trying is important. You can't expect them to come already. It's unfair if you like, okay, it's unfair for me, a black woman, to immediately assume that Michael came to me and started dating me because he knew everything about black people, so he, you know, it's like unfair to me to think that he already knows everything about my culture, because he's not black, he's white. And I, you know, yes, how amazing would it have been if, like, he came up to me and, like, he already knew everything about black history and the culture. But let's face it, a lot of people that are not in your ethnicity, they don't know. And so it's our job to explain that culture to them and make sure that they understand and they get a good, you know, a good history lesson out of it, because it is important.
It's very important.
And one day when we have kids, you know, I don't want to be the only person who's telling them about their history and their roots. Like, I would expect my husband to be able to share that with our kids as well, because he helped make things. So.
And not just sit here and be like, oh, I don't know none of this.
Exactly, because if that's the case, you guys to go.
Yeah.
If you're not even gonna try to learn what, I'm not even asking you to, like, remember it all. I just want you to, like, listen and learn and try to understand as best as you can, so that way, maybe you knowing all the information that you know, you could be out in public or something, someone could be talking and you're like, that's actually not correct, because, you know, I know my history, you know, and then boom, you're educating other people as a white person. You know, that's bonus points. So because of Black History Month, we're just gonna ask you a couple of things and test his knowledge.
Right.
This is not gonna be deep, so y'all don't think that this is gonna be like some kind of deep intellectual questions. I'm just like, you know, just wanting to test him on some basic products. What's a hot comb?
So what a hot comb is, you know, it's a comb made out of metal. Well, you can either do it two ways. You can plug it into a wall, it heats up, or you can throw it in, like, the oven, microwave stuff.
No!
I'm sorry.
No, not, you don't want to throw that thing in the oven or the microwave. You want to put it on the
stove.
Yeah, on the stove with fire. You said that microwave or the oven. That's a good one. What's a silk press?
What's a silk press?
I remember telling you about this one.
Yes, and I have a little bit harder time remembering what a silk press is, but to my knowledge, what I remember is, you know, it kind of like a straightener, but it doesn't, you know, burn or anything. I'm going blank here.
You use the hot comb, that's why I asked. The hot
Okay.
comb. Remember, you use the hot comb to get the silk
Yes.
press. Because I showed Michael a video of silk presses, and it was funny because I was like, I bet you didn't know black people hair could do that, did you? He was like, no. It was so funny because, like, he used to see my natural hair and, like, the curls. And when I showed him the silk press videos, you know, like, if you've seen a silk press, if you're black, you know what it is. But, like, your hair texture will be like, you know, like a Caucasian. Like, it's all shaky and like this, you know, it's shaking or whatever. And so when I told him, I was like, I bet you didn't know they could do that. And he just started laughing. He's like, I actually didn't. So that's why it's important to, like, make sure he knows these things. This one you should know, or you're gonna be fired. What's a bonnet?
Really, what's a bonnet? Basically, like, let's say you get your hair done that day. Well, you're gonna stick your hair in the bonnet. Yeah, it's really just a protective layer.
There we go.
I was over.
Yeah, he was
Simplifying.
mansplaining it to us, guys. Of course. Okay. We already talked about this, so you should know this, or you're fired. Strike 3 and you're out.
So I'm on 3 already?
No, probably on 1. Do you use bleach for dishes?
Well, before we were together, no. But now, yes.
Hell yes. Who said I have a dream? Oh, hell no!
Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, okay.
I was just playing with you.
Oh my gosh! I was like, oh my
You gotta keep her on her
gosh!
toes.
He's about to embarrass me. I thought I was gonna have to just like pray that y'all didn't see that. Oh my gosh! I'm not even gonna ask any more things. Gosh. No, I'm just kidding. But that will be all for today. We hope y'all have a very good Valentine's Day. Thank you guys for joining us today. It's been fun. We had a lot of fun talking with you guys and sharing our thoughts. Definitely let us know in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts, what you have to say. If you believe in 50-50, if you do, why? If you don't, why not? So let us know all those things. Again, I'm gonna just let y'all know the verse of the week again because I'm nice and I want to remind y'all. Because if you're new here, you can go ahead and watch my last video and it gives you more information about the Mosaic Challenge, but that's what this verse is. So if you are familiar with the Mosaic Challenge and winning that $100, this is the verse that you'll be writing down this week. So it's Genesis 2:24. A man and a woman should leave their parents and become one flesh. Genesis 2:24. Go ahead and write that down, and then also don't forget to include your goal for this week. Let's get into our bedtime story before we head out. So again, if you're new here, you might want to go watch that very first video because it tells you every single thing about why I do what I do, why we read this book. And so if you feel like you're lost, just go to that first video. It'll be really helpful. Alrighty. Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon, and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs, and 2 little kittens in a pair of mittens, and a little toy house, and a young mouse, and a comb and a brush, and a bowl full of mush, and a quiet old lady who was whispering hush. Good night, room. Good night, moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Good night, light and the red balloon. Good night, bears. Good night, chairs. Good night, kittens, and good night, mittens. Good night, clocks, and good night, socks. Good night, little house, and good night, mouse. Good night, comb, and good night, brush. Good night, nobody. Good night, mush. And good night to the old lady whispering hush. Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. The end. I hope y'all enjoyed that reading. I feel like by the end of season 1, I'm going to know that book by memory. But I love it. And I always say, I know we're going to finish reading that book every episode. But if you guys ever get tired of reading or listening to it, go ahead and just drop some suggestions. Sorry, malfunctions here. Go ahead and drop your suggestions in the comments. I am more than happy to order new books and new bedtime stories if you guys want to hear some different things. I'm not afraid to switch it up. But until next time, stay kind, stay true to you, and keep those vibes high. I'll catch you in the next episode. Sweet dreams, gorgeous. Oh, and if you love this episode, don't forget to like, share, and comment. It means the world to me, and it helps us keep this journey going. See you next week where we dive deeper into the performance of happiness. Because let's get into it. Are you a liar or just secretive? Bye. Is you gangsta, is you G, or is you not?
Is you gangsta, is you G, or is you not?